Okay, next rod up after the Poison Adrena is the Legit Design Wildside 6.9 Light Plus. Legit Design is a bit of an obscure rod company in Japan, and the Wildside series have been around for some time. In terms of aesthetics, it's certainly a very JDM looking rod, the carbon lock nut, some purple trim in the handle. Core quality is middling, but acceptable. They use a Fuji KR guide train with what appears to be alkanite inserts, and I've been told that the frame is actually titanium. On my scale, this 6.9 Light Plus weighed a hair over 3.2 ounces, so it's about what you'd expect for a rod of this length and power. The ergonomics is good on the wild side. The foregrip could be thinner and more tapered, but after the Poison Adrena, any soft foregrip is a welcome change. I didn't do much bottom contact with this rod, but sensitivity seemed decent. Now, for this class of rods, my main concern is how it loads up on a fish. And that's where this particular wild side falls short, for my purposes anyway. Even though it's labeled as a light plus rod, this wild side has a much stiffer mid and back section than both the old X-Brite A and Poison Adrena that I use for the same role. The tip is your usual medium light, fast action power, but it doesn't access the mid nearly as smoothly as I would like. What I want in a finesse spinning rod, using light line and small hooks, and often fishing tight to the kayak, is something that has a crisp, responsive tip for working finesse soft plastics, yet will load deep into the blank smoothly and quickly to keep fish pinned and light fluorocarbon from breaking. On that score, this rod did not meet my expectations. The blank tends to shut off in the midsection, and you can see it if you watch closely. Even from my GoPro's POV perspective, the bend on this rod just looks kind of weird. Now that's not to say I lost many fish on this rod. Every smallmouth you see in this video was over 4 pounds, and a couple were well over 5. So the rod did its job for the most part. Part of that is because I mostly paired it to the Daiwa Luvius Arity, which has a flawless drag. But part of it is also due to me just not putting nearly as much pressure as I normally do on a fish, taking longer to land fish, and second guessing my rod angle and pressure the entire time. During many of these fights, it constantly felt like something was about to give, either hooks pulling out or leaders splitting. I could never just lean back and let the rod and drag do the work. In the end, I gave up using 5-pound fluoro leaders with this rod and mainly stuck with 6 and 7-pound leaders when the bite allowed me to upsize. But for much of the year, 5 and even 4-pound fluorocarbon is a mainstay for my fishing, and hence this rod got the axe after a few weeks on the water. Okay, here's legit pro Hideki fighting a fish on the same rod. And you can see that the blank just doesn't want to bend past the 5th guide.
やばいの来たかもしれないですこれ。これはやばいかもしれない。
Right there, you can see the shut off very clearly. And you can also see how he's breaking his wrist and bowing to the fish on every surge. Just lots of reactionary movement during the fight, which in my mind is mainly a result of that rod simply not loading deep enough to inspire confidence. Well, the fish he's hooked into here is probably a Lake Biwa giant, and he ends up losing it. I'm not going to blame the rod, although that rod action certainly didn't help his cause.
うわ全然上がってこないもん。うわ止めらんないこれ。やばい木の方行くな。やばいやばいやばいやばいやばい頼む。うわ止めらんないマジで。頼む頼む行くな行くな行くな行くな頼む頼む上がってこあ
Well, there's no stopping that fish. Here's a couple examples of me losing fish on the rod. And, who knows? It could be the rod, it could be the drag setting, but I can tell you, I'm not surprised when I actually break off when I'm using the legit wild side. Now, I bought the legit design wild side directly from the American importer a couple of years back for roughly $250. Since then, they're selling through Tackle Warehouse for $320 plus dollars. I would say there's enough design elements and quality hardware to justify a $200-ish price point, but at the current TW prices, which is 40 to 50 bucks more than the new X Brides, no. At least not for me, and what I look for in a finesse spinning rod. If I fish 8 to 10-pound class leaders, maybe throwing shaky heads or Nico rigs, neither of which I do at all, then this rod could be a contender. But even then, not at its current price. I think it's just probably $100 or more beyond what the rod is worth and also what it retails for in Japan. Now I know JDM prices versus USDM prices are all over the map. Comes to rods and reels and all kinds of tackle, but to me this is just an example of yes, it's JDM, yes, it's high quality, quote unquote, but there are better options, both domestically and overseas. Okay, hope you enjoyed this review, and thank you for letting me show off some pig smallies. The search for the perfect finesse rod continues. Stay tuned.